Hi there, this is Josh, and today I wanted to talk about a more serious topic than I have been talking about on this channel, and that is the topic of voting. If you're not really into political discussion, this may not be the video for you, but with regard to any particular views that I may have, I'm going to do my very best to keep it to a minimum, because this video is about the importance of voting as opposed to who I think you should vote for, because I think that this election is a really important election that everybody needs to, and I feel that they're doing a good job with regard to getting involved. We always say that the election at hand, this is a really important election, but I would say that 2016 is going to be a really important general election. But specifically, the general election is far from the beginning and the ultimatum, because primary voting is just as, if not more, important in my mind. General election, I don't know about you, but it seems like you find yourself voting for either the lesser of two evils, or the one that you vote against the one that you dislike the most. Or you vote for the party that you tend to trust for the most. And you tend to stray away from third-party voting because it seems as if they're taking away from you'd be voting for the person that you least want to get in. That's where primary voting becomes really important, because in the primary you vote for the candidate that you want to represent the party that you tend to prefer. And in that case, you have a chance at speaking your mind so that they may be the person that represents your party come the general election. And unfortunately, it seems like it has become a bit superfluous, because it's almost as if person that gets the nomination is the one that people are either most familiar with, or the person that's touted by the media, or people just they just win the early states and people figure that they're the ones that are going to win, so they get the votes anyway. That's not always the case. With those kind of things, they need to be played out. Sports need to be played out. Competitions need to be played out. Even games need to be played out. And elections, there should be no exception to the rule. And I feel that in order to go forward with the informed voting in the primary, one has to engage in their own individual research. And this doesn't necessarily mean whether you're familiar with someone, whether the media says something, whether the polls say something else. Because when all is said and done, the media, while they have a lot to say about the primaries, they also have a bit of their own objectives. They have their own agenda, so they may be slanting things in a way that they feel benefits them. In some cases, they report things as the polls may see it, and while the polls give you an idea of what many people are thinking, the polls are just a sample of 200 to 2,000 people at one time. Sometimes it's the number's a little bit different, but still, what the crowd is saying should not have any effect on your train of thought. That goes back to the transcendentalism, where you cannot conform to what the crowd is thinking. You have to be a nonconformist and be satisfied with what you feel is right, because self-satisfaction tends to win out when all is said and done. The best way to approach that when you are getting ready to vote would be to prepare months ahead of time. I became heavily involved in the 2008 elections, even though I was not old enough to vote. I was doing my research on all of the candidates, the views as to... I did some research on their views, where they stood on each issue, and I sided with the one that held the most similar beliefs to mine, and how they would take effect, or how they would exercise those their decisions regarding their views. I think that research is the most important way to figure out which candidate is the one for you. And even a site like, as much as I would not encourage people to use Wikipedia, I feel that their page for the US presidential election of 2016 is relatively reliable to the extent that it has all of the candidates, 3 Democrats, the 12 Republicans, some of the minor candidates, the third-party candidates, and then you can click on their pages and learn about their views and how they've voted, and a little bit of background history, and then you can go beyond that, which is encouraged. You should always go beyond Wikipedia research, because Wikipedia itself needs to be taken with a grain of salt, but so do many other sources too. You can't rely on just one source. You want to make your way through several of them. But with that being said, research is going to pair you with the person that you feel is the candidate for you. And even if their chances of winning are slim, and even if they don't win the election, it's that mentality that's going to hurt them the most. You want the consistent thought of they're never going to win it only confirms that they're not going to win it. The belief that there's a possibility and the action that is taken will allow that to possibly provide them with the nomination. With regard to the primary order, Iowa's going to be the first one to vote. They vote on February 1st. New Hampshire will be on February 9th. And I'll leave a list down below, not just to the list of candidates, but also to the caucus and primary schedule. Here in New Jersey, we don't vote until June 7th, but there may still be a competition going on for all we know. I have no idea. It would be nice if all of the primaries and caucuses were held on the same day, so that everybody had an equal voice, which the issue with the fact that there's an order is the fact that you have Iowa and you have New Hampshire, and then South Carolina, Nevada, and people tend to become influenced by the results in those states and tend to lose confidence in their individual decision. you should not lose confidence in your individual decision. And the unfortunate thing sometimes is that with these primary losses, it takes a hit on the campaign. They lose money, they lose funds, they lose workers, and in many cases they end up dropping out. That's where the importance comes in with regard to supporting the candidate that you feel is the best candidate. Not the most popular, not the most familiar, not the one that the media tells you is the one to stand by, not what the party tells you is the candidate to stand by, but the one that you feel is going to execute what you want to get done the most. Thank you for watching this video. I hope that if you are following the American presidential election, or even if you're from another country, I don't know how elections take part, but there may be a very similar voting process or a similar way to which candidates take action. But I feel that getting involved in politics and speaking for what you believe in, and also making a statement when it's time to vote or decide who your leaders are, I think anywhere it's irrelevant. Thank you for checking this video out, and as always, keep reading.